Hello everyone, it is officially day 2 of Tour de Fleece and it is the morning, so I haven't done any spinning today, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get to do much spinning today because we might be gone all day. It's a holiday weekend in Canada, so we will see how much spinning I get done, but I figured I'd show you where I got up to yesterday. So if you go back to my video from yesterday, day 1, I ended up spinning both of these braids from Allaire Artifacts, which are both Cormo braids. Here, I'll show you her little tag. So I spun these up on my castle style wheel, my Lewitt S50. I don't even know if that's how you say it or pronounce it. And my intention is to apply them together, and I had a moment, which I have I think all the time, which is after I've done them together and I go, okay, am I actually going to apply these together? Does it make any sense? I need to kind of trust my gut because it usually does work out for me even when I question it after I'm done the singles. But yeah, I did these singles not super thin because I was aiming for a 2-ply, but let me pull some out here so we can see. Oh, so there's the thickness of it. Some areas got a tiny bit thinner, but I try not, anything thinner than this is so thread-like to me. I find it to be like too fine unless I'm going to do at least a 3-ply. So my thought process before with the braids, and the reason why I will ply these together, I'm sure of it, was first and foremost, this has some bright colors that I think will complement the bright colors in here really well. I used to try to put braids together that really have a lot of colors in common, kind of like these ones I'm going to talk about in a second. But this time I wanted them to be kind of in contrast to each other. And I think this one's muted enough. It's not going to barber pole too much, but it's just going to take this down a notch. So once I spun them up and held them like this beside each other, I was kind of like, I don't know. But I feel like I do know right now. And I'm just going to keep letting them rest on here. We had a large discussion in our Tour de Fleece group. I'm in the Bothy 5, if you know, you know, for the Stashdashers groups. But we had a discussion about storage bobbins and stuff like that. And I love storage bobbins and rewinding my singles. Whoa, and I love hitting the camera too. Don't worry, low production value, I won't edit that out at all. So that is just in there. But this is one of the storage bobbins that I got. I got mine off Amazon in Canada, just cardboard storage bobbins. This is like way bigger than it needs to be. I think I got the 3-inch. I don't need a 3-inch. I've never needed to fill one of these up. I think 2-inch would be fine. But I really like to let wind my singles onto here and let them rest. And I find that does make a big difference in how easy they are to work with, how much sort of tension gets released. Because when you're doing a process like this, you're adding a whole bunch of tension. So releasing the tension, I think, is a really helpful thing. And at least I've noticed it makes a big difference in how easy of a ply it is and how balanced the yarn feels. It has a lot less energy in it, so when you pull it off the nitty-knotty, I don't know if other people are like this, but when I pull it off the nitty-knotty, sometimes it's just like too much. Like it's crazy. It gets all tangled on itself and things like that. So that was one conversation that came up. I forgot to grab it, so I'm going to grab it now. But yeah, I have a little doodad thing that my husband made for me. I have a few. I shared a reel on Instagram in my stories yesterday about it too. Looks like really nothing, and I mean it really isn't. It's just a dowel with like a screw in it. But what I do, he made this special for me, is I put this through the storage bobbin, like so. Okay, and then this cap can go on there too, and then I put this into my drill. I don't have my drill around. But I put this into the drill and then I use it, and that way I can quickly wind off from one of these onto one of these. I just put this on my Lazy Kate or still leave it on my wheel. And then I can use the electric drill to wind it off and this is called rewinding singles. So it'll put it back in the opposite order. And then I can leave it on here and I can keep spinning with these bobbins. I have only 3 of these bobbins. for my castle style wheel, I have a non-removable bobbin, so no spare bobbins for my Saxony wheel, and I have 5 bobbins total for my e-spinners. So yeah, it just helps. It helps me be able to continue spinning while I let these rest. I don't know how long I'm actually going to let these rest because I get really, really excited when it's ply time. So we'll see, and I might pull them off of here and I might not. I do also like them just in this form because they sit, there's a lazy cape built into my wheel that they sit nicely on. But anyways, so I thought that today I obviously need to prep more fiber, and I can show you. You can go over to Instagram as well to see my progress on the bats that we split in the video yesterday. I'm going to have to drum card up some more of those bats soon. So if I get my drum carder back, my friend Jacqueline just has it right now. She's borrowed it for a little bit. Once I get it back, then I can show you making one of those bats. But I need to prep more fiber for sure. And I figured, why not do it here and talk through my fade process. So last year I got pretty into taking braids like this and creating fades. And so this year, these are from Bramble Ridge. She's amazing. I have more of her braids coming. I have a ton of her braids in my stash, but this one I have destined for a 2 braid fade, and my plan is to make it, I think, a 2 ply. I have to think about, could I do a 3 ply? Could I do a 3 ply? Because I do definitely love a good 3 ply, especially when it's colored from braids like this. If I did a 3 ply, then I would need 3, 6. I would need to split each braid into 6. It's possible that I could do a 3 ply with just these 2 braids, but I'm more likely going to do my 3 ply with these 2 sets because I have more fiber. Okay, yeah, this is just me like spitballing something right on here that I probably shouldn't bother with. Okay. Get those out of the way. So I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'm going to prep it for a 2 ply. And what it means is I'm going to end up with probably, I'm going to end up with 3 skeins. And this is 200 grams. So 3 skeins, each one's going to be, I don't know, like 65. Did I do that math right? 66 grams each. Something like that. So I'm going to do, the first one's going to be 2 ply of this. The second one will be 1 ply of this, 1 ply of this. And the third one will be 2 plies of this. Does that make sense? So that it's going to, the first one's going to look like this braid. The last one's going to look like this braid. The other one's going to be a combination. And then I love to turn ones like these into long color work in a sweater that transitions and fades. Or something else. But I just wanted to sort of pop this open. I'm going to open this one because I feel like the colors are a little more exciting, or more variation at least. So this one is Untreated Polwarth, and it's Bramble Ridge, Megan's colorway, exclusive colorway for Knit City Vancouver. Was I at Knit City Vancouver? No. I live in Ontario, so I wasn't there, but she put some in the shop afterwards, and I just loved the hints of mint in this. Are just beautiful. So I'm going to pop this braid open because I want to start prepping this fiber. And I won't do the whole thing on here probably, but at least you'll see how I prep part of it, because I like to also let my fiber sit, not be stuck in this braid until like right before we immediately start spinning it. Ooh, look at those colors. Beautiful. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I like to let my fibers be a little more open and sit for a little bit before I spin them. So this is me prepping for a spin that I'll probably start tomorrow at the earliest. So all I do is I'm just going to open this up a little bit so that it's not curled. And right now it's kind of curled up onto itself. I'm going to open it. Oh, I love deep purples. I love reddish purples too. This one's got more of a cool tone to it. I don't love blue purples nearly as much as I love like wine, burgundy, merlot, maroon. Now I'm just saying Taylor Swift lyrics, but that's okay. And I love gold. Everything looks better with a pop of gold. I don't know why. But I'm here for it. Okay. So I'm almost to the end. No, I'm not. I'm halfway. Woo, this is a long one. I mean, they're always long. I just forget how long. Because the braids I did yesterday that I just showed spun up into singles, those were 50-gram braids. So they were half the length. And those were Cormo. I could pause it if I want to, but I feel like I'm getting close. So what else can I chat about? Let's see. Oh, in our Untreated Fleece team, we're doing like all these giveaways and stuff. It's so much fun already, and we're only like on day 2 of having a chat and meeting new people. It's so fun, especially for an introvert like me who doesn't actually get out there and meet people that often. All right, so here's the braid, and remember, I need each one to be 2 of the one color, and then I need 1/3 strip that will become the combination with the other. So I need to break this into 3. And I like to split it vertically. Splitting vertically into 3 is not an exact science. The other thing that I could consider is no, that's not going to work with a 2-braid fade, with a 2-ply 2-braid fade. So yeah, my options are split this into 3 or split it into 6. If I was going to split it into 6, I'd probably split it in 3 and then split it horizontally in half. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of eyeball where I think 1/3 is. Like that, and then I'm just going to go for it. I don't need to overthink it. I'm going to split that there. And I'm going to try to do it kind of together at the same time so I can get a feel for whether or not I feel like one is getting really thin and one is really thick, and kind of move stuff over that way. It does seem to have, most of these braids that I get seem to have a tendency to kind of want to break in half. And breaking in half doesn't work well when you're trying to break in thirds. My goodness, this is 12 minutes already. What am I even talking about? Who knows? We just post it and go with the flow, otherwise we will never post. You see, one looks a little stringier, one looks a little bit thicker. But what I'll do in the end is after I spin each of these up, I will make sure that I do some weighing of it. Where is it going? I feel like it's turned on me. I'll do some weighing of it and figure out which ones to put together to kind of maximize on the bobbins. This is messy, guys. It's messy what I'm trying to do here. I feel like these two have switched positions here, and I'm finding it frustrating. Okay, let's get them back on track. Anyways, I think I'm just going to pause it because I don't think that this is interesting in the least to you. You get the idea, and I'll come back right at the end. Okay, now we've just got sort of our messy pile. I'm going to put them into little buns. I'm not going to pre-draft them yet. If I decide I want to pre-draft it, which just means sort of gently pulling them apart a little bit, I will do so later. But we can at least then weigh these and see how we did. One thing I guess I could have mentioned that I didn't, where's the end? Here's an end. Is that I plan to kind of talk about a slightly different topic each time I post a video for TdF, for Untreated Fleece, which I have described below for people who don't know what it is. But yeah, I plan to kind of do something a little bit different each time to get sort of a hopefully well-rounded view of different aspects of the spinning process. So this is one of the preps. This is going to be a kind of prep video. This is my little scale. I'm just going to see roughly. I like this one because it goes down to like 0.00 grams. 41, so that might be a little heavy. I didn't weigh how much I have total though. 37. 32. So if anything, what I might do is grab a little bit of this one, and by grab a little bit of it, I mean literally like just pull some of it off and tuck it in to go with that one, to try to make them all kind of in that 30, 35, 36 range is where it looks like we're trying to land. Anyway, so I'm going to do the same thing with the other braid, and then I'll end up with 6 of these bumps. And what I'll do is I'll spin up the singles, I'll probably one per bobbin. And then so I'll have 6 bobbins, and probably on those storage bobbins. And then when I apply them, I'll do 2 of the same, 1 of each, and then 2 of the other one. And that'll give me 3 60-ish gram skeins of fade. So that'll be beautiful. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, there was something else I was going to say. So when I'm applying 2 of the same, like this, together, what I want to be conscious of is probably I will spin 1 in one direction and 1 in the other. And the best way to describe this is probably going to be actually popping open this braid, just so I can use it as a visual aid. This one is called Garden Path by Bramble Ridge as well, in case you're interested. But if you watch, like the braid has the same color pattern kind of throughout the braid. So because it's dyed all together, it's not dyed braided up like this. Maybe I'll pull out the braid. Please hold. Turning this into a really long one again. That's the bottom. All right, so I don't need to pull out the whole thing. But you can see how it's dyed, right? Like it's dyed in sort of these strips of color. So when I pull it into 3, all 3 will have the same pattern because I'm pulling vertically, right? Like this. So each one will have the same color progression. It won't always have the exact same amount of fiber because it depends how well I split it into thirds. So the stripes might be longer or shorter from a yardage perspective when I spin. But what I want to make sure I'm doing is for the one where I have, 2 of the same, if I spin the singles in the same direction, like both starting from this green and then ending over here at this green, there's a chance that they'll exactly line up when I'm applying. And then when I apply them together, I won't get sort of any color variation. It's going to look almost solid throughout. Like it's low probability, but there is a chance. So what I typically do for that, I have 2 approaches. So I'm just going to pull this whole braid apart just so I can see the color repeat. Because if it's an exact mirror of itself, then this won't even make sense. Okay, so it does look like it's an exact mirror of itself. So the start and the end, if I started over here, it would be, green, creamy, purple, creamy, green, etc., and then with green. And if I start at the other end, which is here, it would have that same progression. So what I'll probably do is I will rip the fiber off a little bit and I'll start the second one, somewhere mid-purple instead of starting in green, if I want it to be sort of more barber pole, which is where the colored stripes mix. I'll show you barber poling. So like, where we get darker colors and lighter colors together like this. That's what I want, rather than it looking like it's keeping the color order intact. Because the second one's obviously, when it's mixes half of this and half of this, isn't going to keep the color order intact. So that's something that I'm always conscious of, is making sure that I understand from where I start my single what that means. If I'm going to do multiple plies of the same single, it will never line up perfectly unless I'm a perfect spinner, which I am not, but something to consider. So when I actually spin these, I'm going to take probably one of them and I'm going to start it from a different starting point than the rest of them, just to make sure that I end up with a color progression that's not exactly lined up. I don't know if this is helpful, but this is fun for me to chat through my thought process at least. Thanks for listening to it. And yeah, if you have questions as we go, I plan to record several of these through Tour de Fleece, which goes for basically the first 3 weeks of July, give or take. So let me know and I'll see if I can get to them. Okay, have a great day and happy spinning.